Hey everyone, Sergio with the RideShare Guy. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Wheel. Today I'm joined by John from Las Vegas, Nevada. How are you, John?
I'm well, Sergio. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. I actually wanted to do this Behind the Wheel episode for a while. Last week I did it with a gentleman who rented through Hertz, and he talked about rental pitfalls when it comes to Hertz but today, John's going to talk a little bit about Hertz Rentals through Lyft. John, introduce yourself, what you did before joining Rideshare, why you joined Rideshare, how long you've been at it, all that good stuff.
No problem. I'm from Las Vegas. I've been a rideshare driver for 7 years and 6 months. Um, I'm an original rideshare driver. The second time it started in Vegas, they came in 2015. The TNC got an injunction to stop it through the Taxi Cab Authority. And then when it came back in 16, I signed up and I've been doing it ever since. I enjoy rideshare driving. Prior to this, I worked in the car business for about 17 years in sales management and finance. And then I worked for a diamond cutting blade company where I'm an OSHA 30 certified inspector. And I decided just to do rideshare, and it's been very lucrative for me here.
Okay, great. Obviously Vegas is a very busy city. There is no sleeping in Vegas, right? And then
No
whatever
sleeping.
happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But in this case, we're going to talk about something different, which is so you got into rideshare, you left, it seems like a corporate job, right? And
Yeah.
was the reason the flexibility, the freedom, or what was the reason?
So after being married for 21 years and having a family and kids, I got divorced when my youngest son was turning 12 to 13 that April. Uh, and I needed something that I could take care of him, and I got custody 100%. He never saw his mom, so I needed something flexible. And everybody was telling me how good it was the first time it was here, and then when they released it, I said, "Let's do it."
Okay. And how has it been? 7 years, 7 months is all of the history of the Uber and Lyft, right? In Vegas. And
Yep.
give us a little bit of a flavor about how it was and what you've seen, the good, the bad, the ugly over the last 7 years and 7 months.
Sure. When I started out, we were on a whole different pay plan than what we're on now, and we were getting 75% of a fare. So if you had a $10 fare, I got $7.50, and it was very lucrative. It seems it's still lucrative, even though the pay plan has changed drastically and dramatically. However, I've made six figures almost just under or over every year I've done it.
Okay. So it's not all bad. There is some good in it as well. Obviously, the flexibility helps with your kid. You can do certain things with him, not miss his, games, birthdays, or whatever. This is what the Uber and Lyft offer, right? They do torture you, but they still offer you a chance to put some numbers together. So at the moment, you're in a rental. I know that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But did you have your own car ever, or were you always in rentals, or how did that go about?
So as time went on in Vegas, I've been through a few different personal cars. This is my first rental ever. And as cars got older and they came off the platform, there were certain cars I tried. I tried XLs. I had customized my cars to give a better experience for the customer. And just recently, unfortunately, April 1st of this year, I was in a tremendous accident in my favorite Uber car, my favorite Lyft car, my favorite rideshare car, and it was totaled. A young lady pulled out in front of me, turning left at 45 miles an hour, and there was nothing I could do.
Okay.
So I had to get something going because it's going to be a long, drawn out process. And they were sending me these incentives. Come do an electric rental car through Lyft Express Drive, and we'll subsidize you for 120 rides in a week, $150.
Yeah. And so, I'm sorry to hear about your accident, obviously. Your car obviously was totaled, I'm assuming.
Total loss.
Yeah. Did you have like some dash cam footage? Was it your fault? Was it their fault? How did that go?
So I was with my family, my girlfriend, my baby, and her son, and we were actually just going to eat dinner on Craig Road. And no dash cam footage at the time because I'm driving personally.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, it. She turned left. She was cited for the ticket. She was 19 years old.
Wow.
Had her license for 2 months, driving a brand new car, and It's the first accident really that I've ever been in like this. I've been in a fender bender before, but this was airbag deploy,
Wow.
uh, everything,
Hopefully
full blown.
everybody is okay, right?
Yeah, I'm being treated. I have a back injury and a spine injury, and something with a bone in my back, but I'll be okay.
All right. Okay. So the reason for this episode is like I said, at the start, I wanted to talk about these rental situations that all these drivers go through. All right. For one reason or another, like in John's case, an accident, but in other cases, it could be financial reasons. I'm not saying rentals don't have a spot. I mean, look, if you quit your job or you're beating two jobs, you don't have a car, you can rent it for a couple months here and there, but on is it sustainable? I mean, we're going to talk to John about what he's paying, the pitfalls of in Vegas, they call it Lyft Express, what he sees. Last week I talked to Doug about Uber rentals through Hertz. He rented a Tesla Model 3 and then literally with all the unseen charges, he was paying 650 a week for a car a week. I mean, that automatically makes you a 60, 70-hour driver because for the first 25 hours, you're literally paying for the rental, right? It's not for everyone, but there is some spots for it to take that rental on. So you've been in the rental for about April 1st, you said, so a couple of weeks, so not really that long.
Second week.
Yeah,
This is the
but
second week only.
okay. So what did you rent an EV or did you rent a
I
gas
took an
vehicle?
EV,
You rented an
EV,
EV. What kind of is it like the
Kia Niro EV.
okay, cool. And let's talk a little bit about the costs of it, right? I mean,
Sure.
what are the upfront costs that and then the pitfalls of renting through Lyft Express?
All right. So when I went into the Lyft office for my appointment, I happened to know the man that was there. We worked together in a previous job many years ago.
Okay,
And unfortunately for him, he was able to, I didn't abuse the friendship, but I definitely shared the information he shared with me with other rideshare drivers. He
okay,
told me right off the bat that I was going from 65 cents a mile in my own car to 23 cents a mile in my Kia Niro EV. I had to put a $250 deposit on my credit card, and it's being held there, and it will be refunded if the car is not damaged.
okay,
He told me that there's $1,000 deductible for the insurance that if I get in an accident, I would have to pay, but for $8 a day, it would be covered. So I have no out of pocket costs in an accident, which I thought was okay, $56 a month.
yeah.
But then the rental went to 507 a month a week, or excuse me, 507 a week, minus the 150 for doing 120 rides.
Okay, so what was so you said you went into the Lyft office. Was it the Lyft office or the Hertz office? Because you're renting through Hertz, right?
Right. It's a very strange thing here in Vegas. In Pep Boys, which doesn't exist anymore, and different offices, it says Lyft Express Drive office,
Okay.
and there are Hertz agents operating in there.
Wow. Okay. All right. So what was the initial quote that they gave you before you saw it jump to 500 a week?
$202 a month or a week, excuse me,
Yeah.
202 a week after the 150.
After the 150. So 350 a week,
352
which included,
insurance.
I'm assuming your extra insurance to cover the 1,000 deductible or no?
No, it
No.
would be 352 plus 56. So
Okay.
400.
400. But how did it jump to 500? Or did you find out, or are you finding out? I'm sure you're finding out now.
I found out when I turned on the app for the first time.
Okay.
They don't give you any paperwork. They give you just like an insurance card, and we're self-insured. And I actually went around the block because I took a ride right out of the office by the airport, and I pulled back in. I said, Angela, Michael, I don't want to say his name, but
No.
I told him, I said, what's the deal now? Because it says I owe X amount of dollars that I have to pay back before I can get my money.
Yeah.
And he said that's with taxes and fees and state regulations and there's insurance premiums. And I said, well, I'm going to try it. Because then
Yeah.
it was 508 minus the 150 for doing 120 rides.
Well, what if you don't do 150 and 120? I mean, then you're at $500, right? Basically.
Yes.
Plus the charging cost, or are they giving you any breaks on the charging?
I pay $12.99 to charge the car to full capacity.
Okay.
I do that once a day, every day and a half,
But that's out of your pocket as well. That's an
out of
additional
my pocket,
cost. All right.
out of my pocket.
So this is the difference between Uber and Lyft rentals. On Uber rentals, you directly deal with Hertz. There is no Uber's kind of takes their hand out of it. On Lyft, every Monday, right? Is it every Monday that you see a huge
5 a.m. Yeah.
negative $500 in your account?
Yeah.
Yeah.
5
So
a.m.
Lyft is involved in this case completely. Actually, unlike Uber's and Hertz deal, Hertz is out of the deal. Lyft, your Lyft account is in a debit until you work it off, and then whatever you make after that is your money, right? Am I getting that correct?
Correct. The only other difference that I can explain to you is you're familiar with Lyft's challenges, ride
Yeah.
challenges.
Yeah.
You know how they say do 80 rides and you get $80, and
Yeah.
then the next tier is do 15 more and get 30.
Yeah.
So for the express drive bonus, there's three little circles, and the three little circles say do your first set of 80 rides, $80. Just the same thing I told you. Then
Yeah.
it gets to the 150.
Okay. So 120 for 150 is the EV credit. You said a couple of numbers that kind of, had the light bulb go in my head. So how does this gentleman that you're dealing with at the Lyft Express office, right? Not mention that, well, first of all, you have upfront fares in Vegas, correct?
You do.
Okay. So how did you come up with that massive decline in per mile um dollars? I mean, you said 60 some cents to 20 some cents. How did you figure
So
that out, or how did you come up with that?
so he was nice enough to tell me. And then I was telling people in the office there, and he got kind of like uncomfortable with me passing that out to everybody. But I had to call Lyft because he said it's not a Hertz thing, it's a Lyft thing. So I got
Yeah.
on the phone with Lyft support,
Okay.
and I don't have the best experiences with Lyft support. They hang up on me, they cancel chats. But I finally got through to somebody that I recognized before that I spoke to. I have names and I write them down. And she was very nice. And she said that because of the cost of insurance, that they blamed it on Hertz.
Okay.
Uh, we're moving you from 65 cents a mile to 23 cents, but they didn't use that number. What Lyft said to me was 18% reduction in your pay per mile.
Well, that's not 18%, 63
I,
to 23. That's more like 70%.
I agree. But then they
Okay.
hung up on me. They wouldn't talk about it anymore.
Okay. So what with the upfront fares, are you really seeing that kind of decline in your earnings? 70%?
No, it's a huge decline. And can I talk about what I did in my other car
You
first?
can talk about anything you
Sure.
want. There is no
All right.
muscle. You can
So
talk about anything you want.
in my personal vehicle, the whole time I've been a Lyft driver for 7 years,
By the
I
way,
take
are you on both platforms or just Lyft?
just Lyft.
Well, through the rental, you have to be only on Lyft, the express drive. But before then, when you had your own car, were you on Uber and Lyft or just Lyft?
I was an Uber and Lyft driver from the beginning,
Yeah.
and I was deactivated permanently from Uber.
Okay. All right. And
Uh,
so back to the rental.
right. So on my own personal cars, all the ones I've ever used, I get up, I wash my car, fill it full of gas, and I turn it on, and I don't turn it off until I make $300 every day.
Okay.
That was my number. And I
Okay.
take every single ride, no matter if it's $2, $4, $7, $6, and that's what I've done.
Yeah.
I'm doing that in the rental,
Okay.
and I'm barely making. I did 20 rides in 9 hours and made $111. So there's something that I've been discussing with Lyft on a regular basis. I chat in or call, and I say I went from Lyft and Lyft shared in my personal car on a 2017 Ford Taurus
Yeah.
to a 2023 Kia Niro with Lyft shared green and extra comfort,
Yeah.
and I'm getting less rides. I had a gap of an hour and 11 minutes yesterday, and I was on the phone with Lyft before I got a ride driving around. And I said, something seems to be wrong. And then I got a ride and they're $4.14. If I was able to show you my screenshot,
Yeah.
all my rides are $4.14, $4.14.
I mean, in Vegas, obviously, most of the trips are going to be short, but you, so you do, you had a plan. The plan was, have a goal, daily goal, dollar goal in mind, get out until you accomplish it. It could take you 10 hours, it could take you 8 hours, it could take you 12 hours.
Absolutely.
So that's what most drivers do, which is fine. And I'm not going to disagree with that. We don't like that, obviously. We like more cherry picking style of driving, but in Vegas it's kind of tough to do that probably. Um, so how many hours would it take you previously to do that $300 on average, let's say?
I have a complete data set of information. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I could get $300 between 6 and 10 hours, depending on the day.
Okay.
On a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it would be 11 to 12 hours. And on Wednesday or on Thursdays, it could be anywhere between 8, 9, 10 hours. Thursdays is a busy day here, the end of
Okay.
convention season.
Yeah.
So on Thursdays, all your conventions end.
Okay. So now comes the question. Obviously, you said you were online in a city like Vegas, which I'm sure there are plenty of pings. I mean, they're not short of pings in Vegas. There's millions of people there. Um, how do I mean, what do you think is happening? Why do you think you waited over an hour for a ping?
I used to have a contact with Lyft in management, but when they closed the hubs here,
Yeah.
he lost his job. And we had this conversation about wait times between rides and long pings. He said sometimes here in Vegas, uh, because we're so close hotel wise, we
Yeah.
get caught up in cell phone issues.
Okay.
Now I've uninstalled the app, I've reinstalled the app, I've done everything I can do. Drove around all over the place. I was on the phone with Lyft yesterday while I said, and I documented. I have a screenshot. I
Yeah.
says, "What time do you show me going online?" She goes, 6:03 p.m. And I said, "It's 7:11, and I don't have a ride."
Yeah.
And she said she was going to escalate it to engineering and then put me on hold, and then came back and said, "We don't have any way to send you rides manually." I said, "Well, I didn't ask you to send me rides manually." I
Yeah.
said, "Let's look at my profile." She goes, "Your profile is fine, and there's nothing I'm going to do for you." And then that was the
Okay.
end of it.
All right. So
I don't know.
let's get back to the rental and Lyft Express. Cutting pay, obviously. I mean, you're experiencing it, right? So,
It's painful.
are you going to put the same amount of hours per day? Are you still going for your $300 a day goal, or what are you doing?
So I am, and sad to say, I've been doing DoorDash and I make more
Okay.
money doing DoorDash.
Okay.
So I'm trying to cover my rental costs. The car I'm sitting in right now is my secondary car that I never had on the road in case I
Yeah.
got in an accident.
Yeah.
So I had to do an emissions. I have to do some work on it before I could start driving it for Lyft again.
Yeah.
But I got to make some money to do it. I have to make some money before I can put this car on the road and give them back their electric car. I
Okay.
am not
So,
going to stay in an electric car.
this is the part that gets tough. Okay. So I asked this to Doug actually last week, from LA. He says he's been driving for 10 years, right? And he was broke. He had like only $600 in his account. I'm going like, how do you drive for 10 years, not save any money? So in your case, you said you made close to six figures for, 7 years. Did you not have a rainy day fund? Did you not save money? What happened there?
So I never had two cars on my insurance policy. This car that I'm sitting in right now is just sitting here, uninsured, unregistered, for the rainy day. The reason I'm working 9 hours, 8 hours, I have rainy day fund. I'm actually looking right now. I have feelers out all over the place to find a black on black sedan that's 2016 or 2017 or newer,
Okay.
the right car, so I can do Lyft Black now and
Okay.
extra comfort. So
Okay.
I'm planning this. This happened April 1st. My car was gorgeous. My Ford Taurus. I had a custom stereo, custom wheels, custom grill,
Okay.
custom tint. Everybody loved my car. I was on TikTok. They called me Johnny Nightclub. But I'm hurting because I'm going to doctor's appointments 4 times a week,
Okay.
and sitting in this car, sitting in my bed, sitting in that car, doesn't matter what it is, I get into
Yeah.
pain. My right
Okay.
leg goes numb. So
Yeah.
I supported a family. Lyft has
Yeah.
been great. I had 5 children. I was married. I have a girlfriend now. She has a kid. We have a kid. It's really not an issue of money. It's
Yeah.
just an issue of finding the right car.
Yeah.
I felt very uncomfortable what Lyft did. They realigned, I think it was premium rides or premier to
Yeah.
extra comfort, and they excluded my car.
Yeah, to
They
Lux,
put it,
yeah. Lux, Lyft
yeah,
Lux, they got rid of Lyft Lux, yeah. So you're currently still in a rental, right?
yep.
To do your Lyft driving anyway. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's working out for you. I mean, what do you say about that massive cut. I mean, should it be like that? Should that even be legal? That just because you're renting, they can do whatever the heck they want, kind of a situation. Because Uber doesn't do that, by the way. So I only Lyft Express. That's it's that draconian that the cut that you're experiencing is immense, right?
So there's three issues with this whole thing that got me out of my mind.
Yeah,
I'm paying $2,000 a month for a rental,
yeah,
plus they're cutting my pay, and I'm getting less rides.
yeah,
So this is something that is absolutely outrageous. The people I've spoken to here that are in express drive rentals through Lyft had no idea. These are people. I mean, there are some that know, but majority of your Lyft Express Drive people that I've met and talked to, they got into Lyft with a rental, so they don't know any difference. So there's
yeah,
no awareness,
yeah,
and I'm going to make it aware. I'm going to make
yeah,
it aware because I showed the Hertz representative. I said, "Look what I make. Look at my money." He
yeah.
goes, "Don't expect to make that because you're not gonna."
Wow. Yeah, I mean, no, well, obviously this will get traction. We're going to put this on our channel, and I do get quite a few emails, from not necessarily Vegas, but from other cities that drivers are experiencing the same thing. I think I'm going to look into the legality of this, to be perfectly honest with you, because car is a car. What's the difference that they take advantage of a driver who's renting and paying them 18% less? Let's say not even the 60% that you heard about, but the 18% less. I mean, I'm still taking you lift passengers from point A to point B. What's the point of paying me less, right?
And I try as hard as I can to make customers aware. The one thing that I'm learning is having a conversation. I'm very friendly. I talk to all my people. I'm 5 stars, 12,000 rides. They don't know what we get paid. They
Yeah,
think we're getting paid all the money. And
yeah,
if they bring it up and they want to talk about it, I show them. I'm say, this is what I made for your ride, $4.11. And
yeah,
I can guess in my head what they paid. And I'm within $2 to $3 every time. They're
yeah.
like, God, I'm so sorry that I paid $21 for this ride and you're making $4.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So,
And they
so
don't know.
I mean, we have a few more minutes, but give us some advice for future Lyft Express renters. It doesn't have to be Vegas, because there are millions of them probably all over the country. What do you think about this deal? I mean, obviously you don't like it. Obviously you're going to try to get out of it, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I will be out of it. As soon as this car is registered and plated on the road that I'm sitting in, I'm out of it. I'll make more money with Lyft and shared in this 2013 Lincoln MKS
Okay.
than I am in that car. And that's proof in the pudding because I had a 2017 Ford Taurus with Lyft and shared and I made more money.
Yeah.
My advice to people that are thinking about Express Drive is to be aware that there's more money for you out there when you own your own car or if you
Yeah.
rent from hire car even. I don't know if we can plug them, but I looked into hire car and it's less expensive in cost, but you're paying your gas bill too. So
Yeah.
it's like $50, $60 a day with hire car, but there's other options for people. There's so many options out there to be able to get yourself a car. I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to buy another nice car when
Yeah.
I find the right one. And I'm going to just continue to do ride share the way I've done it.
Yeah.
But this experience put the worst taste in my mouth. And I would like to be a part of any kind of movement, letting people know they're being taken advantage of. Because
Well,
this is taking
I
advantage.
mean, I will send this to Lyft because I have the contacts, and I'm gonna go, what's up? Why are these people getting paid? Aren't you, I mean, without telling them, aren't you kind of exploiting these people who are renting and doing millions of trips for you a year in rentals? I think that's the proper question, and then we'll look into the legality of it, because why should you get paid less because you're in a rental? It's pretty clear to me that they're taking advantage of drivers.
I went down that road with the Lyft people I spoke with over the last 6 to 11 days.
Yeah.
And they said the prowess is on me as a driver to review the agreement that I agree to. They don't have
Well,
to tell me anything. They
but
don't have to tell me that.
did they even tell you that? I mean, I'm sure you're
I found
smart
it in the
man.
agreement.
There's
I found it in the agreement. I
there
found it.
it is.
Yeah,
So always read the fine print, I guess, right?
that's it's. She said it just that way. The prowess is on the driver
Yeah,
to understand the policies and procedures before you get behind the wheel of a car that you agree to drive for rideshare.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing this because this is definitely going to get some traction, I'm pretty sure. And a lot of drivers don't even know. right? I mean, you at least looked at it and found it that it wasn't the agreement, right?
Yes.
And I mean, look, rideshare pay is nothing like it used to be when you started 7 years and 7 months ago, let alone today. But on top of that, because you're renting, you get another haircut. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So give us a couple of minutes advice to drivers who are thinking of renting and who are in this kind of situation. Any advice doesn't have to be rideshare advice, really.
I would just tell them to try to find an alternative because it's very painful. To be out there working like I'm working, I have no problem when I'm getting paid and compensated. And
Yeah,
like you said, it's a haircut from 7 years ago till now. It's a crew cut.
yeah,
There's times in my own car I look at it, Lyft is taking 47% or 53%, excuse me,
yeah,
and I'm getting 47%. And now I'm getting a kill in the miles. My advice is to find an alternative. If
yeah,
if you can't if you can't, then you have to do what you have to do. You have a family to feed, and you want to choose rideshare, but there's four rows of four chairs in the Lyft Express drive office.
okay,
There were nine people sitting there, and I told every one of them. And I caused a big ruckus. I didn't mean to cause a ruckus. I just want to make people aware.
yeah.
And he's like, John, let's not talk about that. Let's,
Wow. So there
because
is
these
that
are
much
people that come
demand.
in. Yeah. Well, there's people come in and they don't know. If you wanted to get into rideshare right now and you had no prior knowledge to it, and you're like, oh, I could get a rental car and they're going to incentivize me, and you went and did it and it's all great and you have an electric car and it's brand new and you're happy and you're making $4 in rides, and that's happy for you. But if have previous knowledge or you're unaware, that's that's not fair. That's not
Yeah.
a fair level playing field for everybody.
Well, that's the
And
problem with rideshare, right? That's the problem with rideshare. There
yeah,
is no education, there is no information, proper information out there. I mean, we try to do our best, but our reach is nothing compared to the million drivers that are out there on the Lyft platform, and they don't know. And they're definitely getting, I call it this, sucking blood out of a rock. And the problem with it, like you're a veteran, I'm a veteran. We have so much scar tissue with all the rate cuts and different things that have happened. These newbies, they have no idea. To them, $4.14 for a trip is great, right?
yeah, it's work. It's money.
Yeah,
And the sad part I had to find out 4 days ago that I didn't even mention is, remember the three bubbles on the ride challenge, but
yeah,
it's the EV bonus.
yeah,
That's not a permanent thing.
yeah,
That could go away tomorrow. It could go away next week. It could go through the summer. Whatever Lyft decides, it's going from the 507 minus the 150 for the 120 rides to 50 507, and they don't care.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
said, well, you'll be getting the car back if they do that. I
Yeah,
said the car will
just I
be
mean,
on your
look,
property.
as rideshare drivers, we know we don't have any control. Okay, I mean, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and you're gonna roll with the punches. But I want to thank you for doing this. We're gonna obviously put this on our channel, and yeah, buyer beware. I mean, you got to read the fine print, and John did, and he figured it out. But he's in a bind, but he's trying to get out of it. Look, I wish you the best of health with the accident, obviously.
Thank you.
I wish you nothing but great things and safety, and let's keep in touch and keep me posted what happens with you.
Thank you for having me on. I enjoy the fact that I can do a little bit. You said with your channel, the voice is small. I think if everybody does a little small, it'll become big. And
Yeah,
like I said, I think one of the biggest things that we miss is educating the customer,
yeah,
because you and me, we aren't even a pimple on Lyft or Uber anywhere.
yeah,
We're not even a pimple. So if we disappear and say we're going to go get a corporate job, it means nothing to them. If
yeah,
they start to lose customers because the customer is aware that they're taking 40% or 50 or 60% of our money, that does bother customers in my opinion, that they tell me.
I
And
agree.
and and it's they're like, hey, let's cancel the ride and pay cash. I
I
said, let's
agree.
not do that. Let's not do that. Let's continue the ride, and let's just find the right way to do
Yeah. No, I
it.
agree with you. And that's, I think, great advice, right? I mean, that's the passenger education is probably more important than driver education.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate it. Thank you for doing this with me. Stay healthy, be safe out there.
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching this episode of Behind the Wheel on the RideShare Guy. We've been doing these interviews for the past 6 months with very successful drivers from different cities around the nation. Click here for another episode. Make sure you subscribe and turn on all notifications for other episodes of Behind the Wheel as well as amazing content on our channel.